asparagus out of your alley garden?
Next spring at the earliest, next late March, early April at the earliest, and then for only a week or two, because in the first year after the new asparagus is planted, you wouldn't want to harvest very much because it would sap the strength of the plants.
Then the following year you have more and it
Yes.
progresses that way?
The beginning of the third season would be when you could harvest a substantial amount, and then probably for not more than 4 to 5 weeks, a month or a month and a half.
Let's say then if you've had asparagus in your garden for the last couple of years, what should you be doing there now?
Well, in the early part of the spring, before the asparagus crop starts to sprout out, we apply some fertilizer, usually ammonium phosphate or 1620O, at the rate of about a pound per 100 square feet. And then we rake that in and water it in very well. And as soon as the growth starts, as soon as you start seeing the spears sprout and come up through the soil, then we irrigate at least once a week with about an inch of water. Because although there isn't very much growth there, you don't see very much foliage or anything, the asparagus is mostly water, and it takes quite a bit of water for it to grow.
Let's take a look down here and see what we have. It looks to me like not very much asparagus, hardly enough for a meal for one.
That's right, but this we pick about every other day, or snap the spears about every other day, taking those that are somewhere between 6 and 8 inches tall. The last time we harvested was on Saturday, so here we have enough for perhaps a serving for one person here today. And since in our family we only have asparagus maybe once a week or sometimes twice if we have a lot, it's enough. We never get tired of it.
How do you know when it's time to actually break these off?
When the spear is about 6 to 8 inches tall, and while the bud or the tip of the spear is still nice and tight, all the bracts are tight and they haven't spread apart. This one, of course, is too small, and you can see how they're all spread apart. That would be letting it go too long.
What would you do with this one?
Well, we keep them all snapped off. We don't let anything grow beyond 6 to 8 inches, because the strength, even though that's a spindly spear, the strength that's in the crowns and in the root system will tend to go into this spear, this fern, if we let it grow. So we just take, when they're that tall, and snap them over, just gently like that. And the place where the spear breaks will be at the most tender point along the stem. So you don't get any of the basal portion, which is tough.
Speaking of tough, lots of times when you buy asparagus, either canned or fresh at the supermarket, it is tough. What makes that?
Well, it's not fresh in the truest sense of the word, being just having been harvested. As soon as the asparagus is harvested, if it's not refrigerated immediately and kept, and this cut end, see it's bleeding, if that's not kept wet, the asparagus loses moisture and the cells start to lignify and they get tough. So that's just it's a normal deterioration of quality after harvest that we see.
So after harvesting the asparagus in your yard, what's the best way to care for it?
Wash it immediately with a fairly strong stream of water to get any sand out of the tips, and then put it into plastic bags while it's wet and refrigerate it in the vegetable drawer immediately.
Keep it moist until it's time to...
cold. Yep.
I see back in the corner of our little plot here some huge spears.
Yes.
What accounts for the difference between the sizes?
Well, the asparagus is botanically a dioecious plant. There are both male and female plants, and the female plants, of course, bear the little fruit that bear the seed, and the male plants just the pollen. Well, the big spears come from the female plants. They produce very few spears, but they're usually quite big. And this, well, one back here is practically enough for a meal. It's about 1 inch in diameter, but it will only produce maybe one of those a week.
Now, is it ready to harvest
yes,
too?
This one is ready to harvest. And again, we just snap it off right above the ground line, and you have a great big, well, great big one.
Do you plant asparagus from seed?
You do in the field, or yes, they plant the seed, and then what we home gardeners plant, and even commercial asparagus growers plant, is 1-year-old plants. The roots from 1-year-old plants are actually what we plant in the garden.
What I was wondering is if you would automatically get a mixture of male and female asparagus.
Yes, you do.
You don't have to worry about
No, you don't have to worry about it.
How long over the harvest season can you get asparagus out of the garden to eat?
We harvest for at least 8 weeks, and if the season stays on the cool side, we can harvest for up to 10 weeks, but normally 2 to 2.5 months is the longest you should harvest. When the spears get much smaller, when you cannot find one that is at least somewhere near the size of your little finger, then it's about time to quit. Because if you harvest too long, you sap the strength of the plants so low that they cannot produce a great big fern for the rest of the summer, and the strength of the planting declines then.
Then when you decide to quit, do you just let that grow and not pay?
Everything grow. Yeah.
You don't have to do anything else to it?
Well, we let everything grow. We apply, again, about a 1/2 pound of ammonium nitrate per 100 square feet as a top dressing fertilizer. And then, again, at least 1 inch a week, and if it's very hot and the fern growth is strong, then you should come in probably every 3 to 4 days with 1 inch of irrigation water. And just keep it growing until you start to see it yellow out in the fall, late summer, August, September, and then you can stop watering once the fern has matured and the plants are going dormant.
I guess you have to feel like a pretty permanent resident to start growing asparagus, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to wait so long that it doesn't pay to start a planting if you're going to be moving this year or next.
We'll be back out here in the alley garden on Thursday. What are we doing then?
We're going to plant the seed of snap beans and show some tips on how to get ahead of everybody else in your alley.
Great. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Roland Roberts, here at the People Place Alley Garden.